Hello everybody, welcome to our next video, and by far the hardest lesson of the 6 that we've done so far, and it's on the introduction to positive and negative numbers, how to add, subtract negative numbers. And so first we're going to learn what's the purpose of negative numbers. I'm going to do a short video here, and then I've attached another video on the website that does a better job, I think, than I could do of explaining the easiest way to add or subtract those numbers. And so make sure you watch both videos. I'll try to make this one short so the other one is short too. So one thing I want you to look at is we've been looking on mirrors and line of symmetry, and that translates into negative numbers because the opposite of negative one, the 1 is negative 1. Would you rather have $1 or owe $1? Those are opposites, and the line of symmetry would be 0. Would you rather have $2 or owe $2? So what this says here is the sign of the number changes from a negative to a positive as it crosses to the other line of 0, just like if you had a mirror there. And so as we look forward, here's an example of the mirror. If we had one right here, the opposite of negative 1 would be positive 1. What would be above 2? Would be a negative 2. Above 8 would be a negative 8. Now I think I skipped some here, but this would be a good example of you put the mirror up. The opposite of it would be right across. So we're looking at definite opposites. So what's the rationale for it? Now, people have long used counting numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for thousands of years. And as you gone on, you realized, well, you need numbers that are kind of, in between those numbers. So you found 2.5. Or I slept 6 1/3 hours. Those types of things. So fractions came to need. Fractions, decimals, all that came about because of that. Well, but fractions didn't do all of it. So for example, if you had 5 of something, but you owed 7 of it, what do? And that brought about the invention of the negative numbers. People who live in really cold temperatures, once it reaches a certain point of 0, but it still got colder, the temperatures then need to get into negative numbers. So that's why we're talking about this today. Now we've talked about the opposite again. So the opposite of negative 1 is positive 1. Opposite of negative 2 is positive 2. And so on. So, which would be better? And pause these and try to figure it out. If you'd rather have $3 or owe 10, well, you'd rather have $3. So you'd rather have a positive $3. Let me see if I can write this here. You'd rather have a positive $3 than owe $10, a negative $10. Would you rather owe $4, which would be the same as negative 4, or would you rather owe $9, which would it be? So actually, it's better to have negative $4 than it would be. Let me go back to my thing here. Than it would be to have negative 9. Now, even though 9 is usually a larger number for us, you'd rather owe 4 than owe 9. So it's the opposite. It really, you have to require you to really put some thought into it. Would you rather owe 20 or owe 100? Well, I hope you had the answer is you would rather owe $20 than owe 100. So negative 20 is definitely better than negative, let me see here. So negative 20 is definitely better than negative 100. Okay, so you have to keep that in your mind as you're doing this. Moving on. Maybe. Let me go. Okay, which is colder? Would you have negative 3 degrees or 10 degrees Celsius? Well, negative 3 degrees is colder. What about negative 9 or 19? Well, negative 9 would be colder degrees Celsius. What about negative 7 or negative 11? Well, even though 11 is a larger number, it is actually still colder because 7 is closer to 0 than 11 would be. Okay, moving on. Which is greater? 8 or 10? Well, obviously. Wait a second. This is not right. Which is greater? 10 or 8? Well, 10 is greater than 8, so this is not right here. Okay, would you rather have 5 or negative 1? Well, 5 would be larger. Which is greater? 10 or negative 10? Well, having $10 is better than owing $10. So in this lesson tomorrow, we're going to go over credits and debits, and we're going to look at transactions just to give it. We're going to play a game in regards to that and do different problems here. I'm not going to waste your time with that. We're going to do a review of all of these, and then your homework is going to look like these, putting numbers in order from least to greatest. If you want to pause these and try these, that might be a good challenge for you. Okay, and then these are the type of problems we're going to do. And the next video you're going to see is going to show you how to solve these types of problems using a number line. I would also suggest, if those of you who are just check this on YouTube usually, I just typed in adding and subtracting negative numbers, and it was like the third video down. So if you want to go to that, that's an easy way to get to it too. Thank you so much. Look for the game too so you have additional practice. Thanks.